when my boss fired me in front of the entire office. He didn't realize I had access to something that could destroy his career. It happened on a Monday morning. I walked into the office about 5 minutes late. Traffic had been awful that day, and honestly I didn't think much of it. Being a few minutes late wasn't unusual in our office. People showed up late all the time. But the moment I stepped inside, something felt off. My boss, Mark, was standing near my desk with his arms crossed like he had been waiting for me. The entire office suddenly went quiet. He didn't even let me put my bag down. "Late again," he said loudly. A few coworkers looked up from their computers. I tried to explain the traffic situation, but he immediately cut me off. "Doesn't matter," he said. "This is the 3rd time this month." Then he said something I definitely wasn't expecting. "You're fired." Just like that. No meeting. No warning. No private conversation. He fired me right there in front of everyone. I remember standing there for a second, completely shocked. People were pretending not to listen, but you could feel the tension in the room. I packed my things slowly while Mark walked back to his office like nothing had happened. It was humiliating. But as I left the building that morning, something didn't sit right with me. Because Mark had been acting strange for weeks. About a month earlier, Mark had asked me to help him retrieve some files from the company server. Part of my job involved handling internal systems and organizing digital records. Normally that kind of request wouldn't be unusual. But the files he wanted were located in the finance department folders, areas I didn't normally access. When I asked him why he needed them, he just said it was for a report. At the time, I didn't question it. But after getting fired so suddenly, I started thinking about it again. Later that night I opened my laptop. I figured my company login would probably already be disabled. But out of curiosity, I tried anyway. And surprisingly, it still worked. I was still connected to the internal network. So I started looking around the file system again. It didn't take long before I found the same finance folder Mark had asked about before. Inside were dozens of reports. But something looked strange. Some of the files had odd names, random numbers and letters instead of normal report titles. Curious, I opened one. At first it looked like a normal financial document. But when I started reading through the numbers, something didn't make sense. Large amounts of money were being transferred to an external account. Every single transfer was approved by Mark. And the amounts were huge. Thousands of dollars at a time. At first I thought maybe it was just part of the company's accounting process. But the more files I opened, the worse it looked. These weren't normal transactions, they were being disguised inside other reports. Then it hit me. Mark hadn't fired me because I was late. He fired me because I had access to the system. And if anyone noticed the missing money, I would have been the easiest person to blame. I sat there staring at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to just close the laptop and forget about it. But another part of me knew this was bigger than just losing my job. So I started downloading everything. Transaction logs, emails, financial reports, anything that showed proof. By the time I finished, I had a folder full of evidence. The next morning, I went back to the office building. Not as an employee, but as someone who had a very serious conversation to start. Instead of going to my desk, I walked straight to the HR department. I asked to speak with someone from corporate compliance. At first they seemed confused. But when I showed them the documents, their expressions changed immediately. Within minutes they called several other managers into the room. The entire office started buzzing with rumors. Around lunchtime, Mark was called into a meeting upstairs, and about an hour later, security walked him out of the building. He looked furious. But also nervous. Apparently the investigation didn't take long. The evidence was clear. Mark had been secretly moving money out of company accounts for over a year. And the reason he fired me? Because I had access to the files that exposed everything. If he hadn't fired me that day, I probably never would have checked those reports again. Funny how things work out. Losing my job felt like the worst moment of my life. But in the end, it exposed something much bigger. And the person who tried to ruin my career ended up destroying his own.